Life has never been a level playing field, and it never will be. The harsh truth is simple. Honesty won't always protect you, and talent doesn't guarantee you'll be rewarded. A person with fewer skills, fewer principles, and even less effort might take the very position you work tirelessly for. That's the nature of existence. Those who recognize this reality don't crumble. They adapt, they endure, and ultimately, they rise above. Survival in this world isn't just about strength or intelligence. It's about understanding a hidden force that operates beneath the surface of human interaction. This invisible current is felt everywhere yet rarely named. That force is what I call dark intelligence. Dark intelligence doesn't emerge in moments of comfort. It's born in the fires of betrayal, forged in the humiliation of defeat, and sharpened by the sting of rejection. Where some collapse under that weight, others learn to stand taller. It's the wisdom of silence in a room filled with noise. It's the discipline of watching while others react, the patience of waiting while others rush, and the precision of acting only when the moment is ripe. When ordinary people argue to prove themselves right, those with dark intelligence listen and gather insight. When tempers flare and emotions cloud judgment, the strategically minded remain calculating, crafting the next move while others lose themselves in anger. This isn't about playing the same game everyone else plays. While most are locked into the simplicity of checkers, you are about to step into the complexity of chess. The difference isn't in the pieces, it's in the depth of strategy. But before we go further, let's set one boundary straight. This knowledge isn't a tool for cruelty. It isn't meant to harm, destroy, or exploit the innocent. Instead, it is a shield, a mental framework designed to protect, to prepare, and to empower. The purpose here is clarity, to understand the mechanisms of human behavior so that you see. Now, I want you to anchor this principle into your mind by affirming, I choose to be strategically intelligent, not emotionally reactive. Type it, speak it, remember it, because this single decision changes how you face the world. Let us now explore the psychological traits that set apart those who rule from those who are ruled. Trait 1. Controlled ambiguity. You never owe the world complete transparency. The greatest mistake people make in social interactions is assuming that openness equals trust. They believe sharing every detail of their thoughts, fears, and plans makes them more likable. In reality, it strips them of power. Controlled ambiguity means revealing only what is useful, not everything that is true. The power of mystery has been observed for centuries. Niccolò Machiavelli once remarked that while everyone sees what you appear to be, few truly know what lies beneath. The people who leave the strongest impression are rarely those who reveal every chapter of their story. Instead, they drop hints, leave questions unanswered, and let curiosity do the work. This curiosity transforms into interest and eventually into influence. Imagine someone asks what your weekend looks like. The average response? I'm just staying home, watching a few movies. Harmless, but also forgettable. Now, picture answering, I've got something important lined up, then moving on to a new subject. Suddenly, you're no longer predictable, you're intriguing. People wonder what you're up to, and that wonder grants you presence. This isn't deception. It's strategic communication. Information is currency, and the wealthiest minds spend it with precision. If you constantly give away the full picture, people stop valuing your words. But if you share selectively, every statement you make feels heavier, more deliberate, more impactful. The goal is not to be mysterious for the sake of theatrics. The aim is to maintain control of your narrative, to decide what others know and when they know it. By mastering controlled ambiguity, you're no longer a predictable open book. You're a story people want to keep reading, even if they never get the full ending. Trait 2. Adaptive persona. Another critical aspect of dark intelligence is adaptability. You are not a statue carved from stone, rigid, unchanging, and easily defined. You are more like water, fluid and versatile, taking the shape of whatever container you enter without ever losing your essence. This is adaptive persona. People often confuse this with being fake. It's not. It's understanding that authenticity doesn't mean behaving identically in every situation. Authenticity means remaining true to your values while adjusting your expression to connect with different people in different contexts. Think about it. You don't talk to your grandmother the same way you talk to your closest friend. You wouldn't present yourself in a job interview the same way you would at a late-night gathering with peers. Every environment calls for a different version of you, and that's not dishonesty, it's intelligence. Adaptive persona is about making that natural tendency deliberate. It means studying the person in front of you and communicating in the way they best receive. If they're logical, you appeal to data. If they're emotional, you speak to feelings. If they're pragmatic, you show the practical side. If they're visionary, you share the bigger picture. Machiavelli once noted that a leader should embody qualities like mercy, faithfulness, humanity, and uprightness in the eyes of those watching. Notice not that they must always be those things in every context, but that they must appear to be what others need to see. That's the art of persona. Mastering this doesn't mean bending your principles. It means recognizing that people live inside their own filters. To connect, persuade, and lead, you must step into their lens. Once you do, they feel seen, understood, and drawn toward you. When this becomes second nature, your ability to influence skyrockets. Negotiations shift in your favor, relationships deepen, and leadership flows naturally. People won't just listen to you, they'll feel aligned with you, even when they don't know why. When you shape your persona, the goal isn't to force people into understanding you, it's to create a natural bridge so they can connect with you on their own terms. But here's the caution. Never bend so far that you fracture your essence. Adaptation is valuable only when it doesn't cost you your identity. Your values, your honor, your inner compass. Those must remain unshakable. What shifts is only the way you present yourself. Think of the strongest people as diamonds. Their brilliance comes from many facets, but at the core, they are still one solid, unbreakable stone. Principle 3. Strategic detachment. Detachment is often misunderstood, yet it is one of the sharpest weapons in the arsenal of dark intelligence. It doesn't mean apathy, coldness, or indifference. It means liberation. It means not being shackled to any person, possession, or opinion. Whatever cannot chain you, cannot control you. And what cannot control you cannot manipulate you. Machiavelli once observed that love and fear rarely coexist, and when forced to choose, it is safer to be feared than loved. The heart of this lesson isn't cruelty, but clarity. Attachments can enslave. Most people live in invisible cages built by their own fears. They cling desperately to jobs they hate because they fear unemployment. They tolerate toxic relationships because they fear loneliness. They silence their truth because they crave approval. This dependency weakens them. Freedom begins when you stop being terrified of losing what you think you need. The paradox is striking. The less desperate you are, the more control you gain. Look at negotiations. Person A depends entirely on the deal. They've pinned their plans, their hopes, their future on it. Person B, however, would like the deal but doesn't need it. They have options, they have alternatives, and most importantly, they're willing to walk away. Who dominates the discussion? Person B every single time. Detachment arms you with leverage, clarity, and confidence. This principle extends beyond business. If you're not obsessed with being right, you can assess arguments objectively. If you're not addicted to applause, you can speak your truth without fear. If you're not terrified of being alone, you can choose better partners instead of settling. The irony is powerful. People who appear most confident aren't certain life will always bend in their favor. They're certain they'll survive even if it doesn't. That quiet assurance is what others respect. To practice detachment doesn't mean abandoning effort or caring less. You should still commit fully to your goals, nurture your relationships, and strive for excellence. But never grip so tightly that you suffocate your freedom. Never allow any single outcome to blind you from seeing alternatives. Detachment is your safeguard against manipulation. The person who cannot be threatened with loss cannot be dominated. Understand this hierarchy. The most dangerous person is the one with nothing to lose, but the most powerful person is the one who could gain everything and still fears nothing. Begin small. Stop needing to win every debate. Stop craving universal approval. Stop demanding life unfold exactly as you scripted. Over time, people will notice a difference. They will sense that you cannot be swayed easily, and that aura commands respect. Remember this distinction. Detachment is not a refusal to care. It is the art of caring wisely without surrendering control to that care. Principle 4. Silent leverage ***. Most assume power is loud. They equate strength with raised voices, forceful commands, and public dominance. But true mastery doesn't roar, it whispers. Silent leverage is the art of influencing without overt display. It's when your presence alone tilts the balance of a room, when your silence says more than words ever could. Machiavelli warned that no greatness is achieved without risk. Silent leverage accepts this risk but transforms it into subtle control. It's not about announcing authority. It's about positioning yourself so others naturally bend toward your influence. Instead of demanding compliance, you create conditions where compliance benefits them. Instead of begging for respect, you become indispensable until respect flows unasked. Instead of fighting for power, you quietly build value until power is handed to you. Consider conversation. Most people hate silence and rush to fill it with words, often revealing more than they intend. If you can sit calmly in the quiet, you shift the rhythm. You make others uneasy, curious, and vulnerable. The next time someone throws a difficult question at you, don't answer instantly. Hold their gaze. Let seconds stretch into wait. Then, when you finally respond, your words land with gravity. Silence, when owned, is pressure. Now think about negotiations. Silent leverage means you don't need to bluff or threaten. The simple fact that you have alternatives and are unafraid to use them alters the playing field. Your calm willingness to walk away is louder than any speech. In relationships, silent leverage emerges when you provide consistent value without demanding recognition. You don't shout your worth, you embody it. When you enrich the lives of others, they become unwilling to let you go. Loyalty isn't extracted, it's earned naturally. Professionally, silent leverage means becoming the person who solves problems before others even name them. You don't brag, you deliver. Over time, colleagues and leaders alike realize you're indispensable. That realization becomes influence far greater than any self-promotion could buy. The secret ingredient to this principle is patience. Silent leverage plays the long game. It's about planting seeds of influence and waiting for them to grow into forests of opportunity. While the impatient demand immediate recognition, you steadily accumulate invisible equity. And when the right moment arrives, all the unseen investments suddenly reveal their worth. Remember this: amateurs chase instant gratification. Masters embrace the long arc of strategy. Silent leverage isn't about winning quickly. It's about building a foundation so unshakable that victory eventually comes without struggle. This is the difference between those who shout for attention and those who command it without a word. Detachment frees you. Silent leverage empowers you. Together, they form an invisible architecture of strength that cannot be bought, faked, or stolen. One of the most difficult disciplines of power is learning to wait without frustration. If you truly wish to harness silent leverage, you must become comfortable with delayed gratification. This means trusting that your steady actions, though invisible at first, will eventually accumulate into undeniable influence. When you reach this level, something remarkable begins to happen. People start seeking your guidance without you volunteering it. They look for your approval without you asking them to. They follow your lead without a single demand from your side. You become the subtle force that bends outcomes, shaping the environment in ways others can't even detect. Yet here lies a critical boundary. Silent leverage must be guided by ethics. It is not meant to trick people into choices that harm them. Its highest purpose is to nudge people toward wiser, healthier, and more beneficial decisions. When used with integrity, it becomes a win-win mechanism. Your influence elevates them while also strengthening your position. This isn't about pulling strings in secrecy. It's about quietly aligning circumstances so that everyone advances together. Understand, too, that silent leverage is never passive. You're not sitting idly, waiting for fate to favor you. You're still making deliberate moves, but you're doing so in a way that avoids unnecessary noise. Instead of announcing every intention, you allow your actions to whisper their own story. This quiet consistency becomes magnetic over time. Principle 5. Psychological echo. Psychological echo is one of the most subtle and profound tools in dark intelligence. It is the ability to reflect people's unspoken needs and fears back to them, making them feel deeply seen, valued, and understood. To the other person, it feels like you're speaking their language. In reality, you're decoding their psychology. Machiavelli once said that men generally judge more by appearances than by the substance of things. Everyone can see what seems obvious, but very few perceive the deeper truth. Psychological echo is about perceiving and reflecting that truth. Here's the core idea. People don't invest in products, services, or even people. They invest in what solves their problems and fulfills their desires. The moment you identify someone's hidden need and mirror it back to them in language they recognize, you become immensely valuable in their eyes. Most fail at this because they're too busy talking about themselves, their goals, their opinions, their agenda. But influence requires the opposite. You must listen, observe, and understand. Every person you encounter carries invisible struggles, buried fears, and secret aspirations. They reveal them indirectly in the way they speak about their job, in the way they describe their relationships, in the tone they use when discussing the future. But you have to train yourself to hear the signal beneath the noise. Think of it this way. Every individual asks 3 silent questions in every interaction. Asterisk, do you see me? Do you understand me? Do you value me? Asterisk, if your words and actions consistently answer yes to these hidden questions, you create an almost unbreakable bond. Let's make it practical. Suppose someone says, I hate my job. A surface-level response might be, then you should quit, or maybe you need a new career. But a psychological echo digs deeper. You realize their complaint isn't about the job itself. It's about feeling unappreciated, unchallenged, or insecure about the future. So instead you might respond, it sounds like you feel your talents aren't being recognized, or maybe you're ready for something more meaningful. Notice how this doesn't dismiss them with advice. It reflects back their deeper emotional reality. That's what creates trust. The real mastery lies in reframing complaints into positive reflections. If someone says they're overwhelmed, you might highlight their dedication and high standards. If someone vents about incompetence around them, you might reflect their hunger for excellence. By doing this, you're not just mirroring their frustration, you're affirming their values. Why does this work? Because every human being longs to be understood. And when you demonstrate that understanding, they open themselves to your influence. Once you grasp their core fears and desires, you can present your ideas in terms that resonate with them. For someone who craves security, frame your message around stability and safety. For someone who longs for recognition, emphasize achievement and respect. For someone who values freedom, highlight independence and choice. The power here isn't in changing your message, but in reshaping the language you use to deliver it. And when people feel understood, they follow with less resistance and more enthusiasm. This technique strengthens leaders, empowers negotiators, deepens relationships, and transforms communication. But again, ethics matter. The highest use of psychological echo is not manipulation, it's connection. You employ it to genuinely serve people, to guide them toward outcomes that enrich both them and you. When used sincerely, it creates bonds that are both strategic and deeply human. Principle 6. Ambiguous morality. Another layer of dark intelligence lies in embracing the gray zones of life. The world is rarely divided into pure good and absolute evil. Real power often exists between those extremes. Ambiguous morality means refusing to confine yourself to simplistic labels like hero or villain. Instead, you become the type of person who simply gets things done. Machiavelli, ever the realist, once remarked that since it is hard to combine love and fear, it is safer to be feared than to be loved when forced to choose. This sentiment captures the essence of gray morality. Survival and effectiveness sometimes outweigh sentiment. To live by ambiguous morality is not to abandon ethics altogether. It is to understand that rigid idealism often collapses under pressure. The world doesn't always reward purity, nor does it always punish corruption. Sometimes, effectiveness demands flexibility. This doesn't mean you should abandon principles. Instead, it means knowing which principles to uphold and when to adapt. It's about choosing the greater strategy over the comfort of appearing good in every moment. If loyalty to an ideal leads you into weakness or destruction, dark intelligence asks whether that loyalty truly serves you. Ambiguous morality is about seeing the battlefield clearly. Sometimes what looks cruel in the short term is merciful in the long term. Sometimes protecting what you value requires decisions others may not understand. Power, in its essence, is rarely painted in clean lines of black and white. It's painted in shades of gray, and those who master those shades master the game. Among all the traits tied to what people call dark intelligence, there's one that stirs the most debate: ambiguous morality. This is the concept that gets twisted and misused more than anything else, so it's crucial to clarify. Ambiguous morality doesn't suggest that you abandon your principles, ignore consequences, or trample over others to get what you want. Instead, it means recognizing the complicated reality of life. The world isn't a neat storybook where right and wrong always appear clearly. Sometimes the kind choice in the short run actually causes greater harm in the future. Sometimes being endlessly forgiving simply rewards destructive patterns. The truth is that absolute moral purity is often a privilege only possible for those who never have to make real, weighty decisions. In positions of responsibility, leaders quickly learn that every choice carries trade-offs. Consider discovering that someone on your team has been consistently dishonest with clients. On the surface, compassion might push you to give them yet another chance, offer additional training, and hope for improvement. But then you must ask, what about the honest teammates who now feel betrayed? What about the clients who lost trust? What about the company's long-term stability? A person applying ambiguous morality recognizes that the difficult choice, removing the dishonest individual, protects far more people than it harms. That isn't cruelty. It's ethical pragmatism. Another example. A friend asks for advice about a relationship you clearly see is toxic. The easy response is to smile, avoid conflict, and support them without criticism. But authentic kindness may mean speaking a hard truth. Ambiguous morality allows you to accept the discomfort of hurting someone's feelings in order to save them from a destructive path. The guiding question isn't, how do I look good? But what action creates the best outcome for the greatest number of people? That shift changes everything. Actions that appear gentle can sometimes enable damage. Actions that seem harsh can, paradoxically, produce healing and stability. This is moral decision-making through the lens of consequences, not appearances. Importantly, ambiguous morality is not the same as selfishness. It's not about putting yourself above others. It's about taking responsibility for outcomes that impact everyone, even when those decisions come at personal cost. It's also about adaptability. One behavior may be wrong in one setting and necessary in another. Radical honesty may strengthen intimacy in a close friendship, but the same bluntness could sabotage delicate professional negotiations. People who understand this trait know how to adjust while staying anchored in a core set of values. Of course, this power can be abused. Without clear boundaries, ambiguous morality becomes a mask for exploitation. That's why it's vital to establish non-negotiables. The principles you will never cross, no matter the situation. Once those guardrails are defined, you give yourself permission to act flexibly and strategically within them. The aim isn't to win popularity contests. It's to make ethical, effective choices in a complex world where simplicity rarely exists. Closely tied to this is another essential trait: controlled exposure. This is the art of revealing selectively rather than broadcasting everything about yourself. In a culture obsessed with oversharing, withholding becomes a form of strength. The less others know, the more they assume, and assumptions create space for strategy. Human psychology is wired for curiosity. When we encounter a mystery, our brains rush to fill the gaps. By practicing controlled exposure, you create that curiosity gap intentionally. Think about the most magnetic individuals you've ever met. They don't dump their life story on you in one sitting. They give pieces, enough to intrigue, never enough to exhaust. That restraint isn't random. It's calculated. In professional life, this means pacing how you display your abilities. Instead of showcasing every skill immediately, you allow your talents to emerge gradually, reinforcing the sense that you're constantly growing. In negotiations, it means keeping some cards hidden, revealing them only when the timing creates maximum impact. In relationships, it means unfolding personal details as trust deepens rather than all at once. The principle is simple. Once information is shared, it cannot be unshared. Better to err on the side of saying less than exposing too much. And controlled exposure isn't only about withholding, it's about timing. The same fact shared at the wrong moment looks like arrogance. Shared at the right moment, it looks like humility and relevance. Managing your digital footprint also falls under this principle. Every photo, post, or comment you release online builds a permanent narrative about you. The most strategic individuals curate their digital persona carefully, knowing it influences how they're perceived by strangers, colleagues, even future partners. The purpose of controlled exposure isn't to be mysterious for mystery's sake. It's about guiding perception. It's about keeping control over your story rather than letting others define it for you. Done right, it builds trust while preserving your advantage. Done poorly, it risks isolation. The mastery lies in balance. Open enough to be real, selective enough to stay in control. Then comes the final trait, outcome obsession. This separates true performers from talkers. Outcome-focused individuals don't waste time on empty debates or ego games. They don't chase validation for being right. They chase results. They measure success not by how smart they look, but by whether they accomplished what truly mattered. Instead of asking, "How do I win this argument?" they ask, "What result do I want from this conversation?" Instead of, "How do I impress people?" they ask, "What decision will bring me closer to my goal?" This subtle mental shift changes how you approach everything. Most people approach conflict like a courtroom battle, proving their point, exposing flaws in others, basking in victory. But outcome-obsessed people recognize that humiliating someone rarely produces cooperation. If the goal is behavioral change, it's often smarter to help them discover the conclusion themselves. If the goal is to protect a relationship, compromise may matter more than being right. This mindset extends beyond arguments. In careers, outcome obsession pushes you to choose projects based on genuine impact, not surface prestige. In relationships, it reminds you that nurturing love matters more than winning a small disagreement. In personal growth, it means measuring progress by tangible results, not intentions. Outcome obsession also eliminates the trap of busy work. Many people confuse activity with achievement, filling their schedules with tasks that don't actually move them forward. But the outcome-driven person is ruthlessly selective. They practice strategic laziness, focusing energy only where it generates disproportionate results. They prioritize the 20% of actions responsible for 80% of success. Another hallmark is adaptability. Most people get emotionally attached to their strategies. Outcome-obsessed individuals stay attached only to their objectives. If one plan fails, they switch tactics without hesitation. They remain flexible with methods but relentless about goals. This makes them resilient in uncertainty and unstoppable in progress. Of course, this obsession can turn toxic if stripped of ethics. Results matter, but so do integrity, relationships, and values. The healthiest approach builds those into the definition of success. True outcome obsession means producing results without compromising your core humanity. Ultimately, these three traits, ambiguous morality, controlled exposure, and outcome obsession, form part of the larger framework of dark intelligence. But knowledge without practice is worthless. The challenge is to pick one, apply it consciously for a week, and watch the shift in how others respond. Notice how people treat you differently when you operate strategically rather than reactively. Remember, power always comes with responsibility. These tools aren't meant to manipulate or exploit, but to safeguard, protect, and elevate. Use them to carve better paths for yourself and those around you. Real dark intelligence isn't about control over others. It's about control over yourself, your choices, and your outcomes. The world is filled with manipulators, but the rarest and most valuable individuals are those who see through the games, navigate complexity, and serve the greater good with precision. So the question remains, which kind of person do you choose to be? The one who drifts with appearances, or the one who shapes reality with intelligence and integrity? The choice, as always, is yours.